Hi Boris, what's new?
Hi Marta, nothing special. How's your life?
Same as always, school, homework, all sorts of things.
Okay, let's not keep our beloved listeners waiting for the latest news.
Let's not, because Bat English is a podcast for people who want to learn English in an easy and in the most effective way.
All you need is to just listen for 10 to 15 minutes every day to our podcast.
Let's start. And our first news of the day, Europe is now closer to war than it has been since the breakup of former Yugoslavia. Is Russia preparing to invade Ukraine? Russia and the West talk all week, but war risk remains. What Vladimir Putin plans to do next is unclear. Moscow denies.
Stop, please. Denies, it's from deny. What is deny?
That means to state that one refuses to admit the truth or existence of something else.
For example, I did something bad and I refuse to admit that fact, so I deny this. Thank you.
Or you can deny climate change, like many do.
Why not? It's good example how to use word deny. Thanks.
Back to our news. So Moscow denies, despite the massive buildup of troops on the border with Ukraine, that is planning a military invasion. But it has issued NATO with a list of security demands, loudly blaming the alliance for undermining regional security.
Excuse me, undermining, it's something with mining?
Not at all. Undermining is the action or process of lessening the effectiveness, power, or ability of someone or something.
So, when Putin blaming NATO for undermining regional security, it means that he accused NATO that regional security going less and less effective.
Yes, but also undermining is usually used for moral reasons. Like, if Boris were giving a presentation, and I was also doing the presentation with him, and I was always interrupting him or always talking, I would be undermining him.
I will never do it for you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Vladimir Putin insists, among other things, that NATO bans Ukraine and other former Soviet states from ever becoming members of the organization. The EU warns the Kremlin of extreme consequences should it take military action in neighboring Ukraine. Sweden moved hundreds of troops over the weekend to its strategically important Gotland Island, which lies in the Baltic Sea. And Denmark strengthened its presence in the region a few days before that. On Monday, British Defense Secretary Ben Wallace announced Britain was supplying Ukraine with short-range anti-tank missiles for self-defense. He said a small team of British troops would also provide training. The rising tensions have also reignited the debate in both Finland and Sweden as to whether they should now join NATO. There's also widespread concern in EU countries about gas supplies from Russia, especially with prices already so high for European households this winter.
You know, I can't believe that it's now happening in Europe. Maybe it's the first time after World War II and after Yugoslavia that Europe so close to the new war. I can't believe in it.
Me neither.
Okay, so our next news.
Roberta Metsola has been elected as the youngest ever president of the European Parliament and the first woman in the role for 20 years. Miss Metsola, 43, takes over the role from David Sassoli, 65, who died last week after a serious illness. She is one of 3 women in the top EU jobs, along with the heads of the European Commission and Central Bank. But taking questions from journalists on Tuesday, she was asked more than once about her views on women's reproductive rights. She's been criticized for her voting record on the issue, and in 2015 joined other Maltese MEPs in saying they were categorically against abortion. A predominantly Catholic country, Malta is the only EU member state to have a complete ban on abortion. However, Ms. Metsola has insisted.
Excuse me, insisted?
Insist means to demand something forcefully, not accepting refusal.
It's like, does Vladimir Putin insist that Ukraine can't be the member of NATO? He doesn't want and he insists.
Yes, he is
forcefully
insisting.
And not accepting refusal.
Yes.
Okay, so...
However, Ms. Metsola has insisted she will represent the European Parliament's view on sexual and reproductive health, rather than her own. Her previous jobs have included acting as legal advisor to British politician Baroness Ashton, who was then the EU's top diplomat. But it is her Maltese roots that were more of interest immediately after her election by MEPs. Malta has a population of just over 500,000 people and is the EU's smallest member state. Malta has historic ties with the UK, securing independence in 1964.
So, Malta was one of the UK colonies?
British colonies.
British colonies.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, and MEP, I remember MP is Member of Parliament and MEP is
Member of European
Parliament. Okay, thank you. Let's go to the next news, and I'm sure it will be a little bit boring for you, but I think it's very exciting news.
There's a shortage of truckers, but TuSimple thinks it has a solution. No driver needed. That's very interesting. Well, let's read more about that. Right now, there's a shortage of truck drivers in the US and worldwide, increased by the e-commerce boom brought on by the pandemic. One solution to the problem is autonomous trucks, and several companies are in a race to be the first to launch one. Among them is San Diego-based TuSimple. Founded in 2015, TuSimple has completed about 2 million miles of road tests with its 70 prototype trucks across the US, China, and Europe. TuSimple's latest road test involved hauling.
Stop. Hauling? It's not they cry. Hauling.
No.
Because it's, sounds like hauling. Like cry, no?
No. Hauling is to pull an attached trailer or load behind it.
Ah, so truck hauling the extra truck behind.
Well, in this case, it's TuSimple's latest road test involved hauling fresh produce 951 miles from Nogales, Arizona to Oklahoma City. The pickup and the drop-off were handled by a human driver, but for the bulk of the route, from Tucson to Dallas, the truck drove itself. Today, because the system is not fully ready, we have a safety driver and a safety engineer on board at all times when we're testing. But we drive in full autonomy. The driver wasn't touching the wheel, said Cheng Lu, TuSimple's president and CEO. The journey was completed in 14 hours versus the usual 24 with a human driver, mostly because a truck doesn't need to sleep. In the US, a driver can only work 11 hours a day. We simply had a handoff.
Excuse me, what is handoff?
A handoff is a term used in American football, which means an exchange made by handing the ball to a teammate.
Thank you.
We simply had a handoff when our first pair of drivers had to stop because they reached their 11 hours of operation, said Lou. Removing the human element on long trucking routes has other benefits. The company says its trucks react 15 times faster than human drivers and can see farther down the road even at night. In the US, every year, there are about 5,000 fatalities involving trucks, and most are due to human error, said Lou. The truck doesn't get tired, doesn't watch a movie or look at a phone. It doesn't get distracted. That doesn't mean driverless trucks will take away jobs, according to Lou. A UPS...
Please stop. UPS stands for United Parcel Service. Is an American multinational shipping and receiving and supply chain management company. It's for reference.
A UPS driver is dropping off 200 packages a day. That's not what autonomy is meant for. We believe that every driver will be able to retire as a driver, even if they enter the workforce today, said Lou.
So they plan to replace driver in the middle of the long roads. Okay, let's go to the last news for today.
Big insect problem. Sounds very promising. You may not like insects, but all life on Earth needs them to survive. Birds, fish, and reptiles feed on insects, and if there are no insects, they die from hunger. As they die, predators which eat birds, fish, and reptiles die too, which leads to a mass extinction.
And what is extinction?
The fact or process of a species, family, or other group of animals or plants becoming extinct.
Excuse me, for me it's very weird definition. Extinction is the fact of becoming extinct. Why we can't just say it's the fact of process of dying?
It is.
Species, family, and they will...
Extinction, this is a bit of a easier to understand definition. It is the process of when a species, family, or group of animals is slowly dying off and the species no longer exists.
Like dinosaurs.
Yes.
They
went extinct.
They did extinct.
No, they did extinct. They went extinct.
They went extinct? I don't understand how it is. They did.
No,
this
they
fact
got it. No. In English, you have to say they went extinct. If we no longer have an animal, that means that what happened to them? They went extinct.
Went?
Yes.
From go, past from go.
Yes.
They went extinct.
Well, for example, if you have a piece of fruit and it's bad, you're not going to say it did rotten. It went bad.
Okay. So now I understand extinction, and the dinosaurs, they went extinct.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Furthermore, insects pollinate.
Wait. Pollinate?
Pollinate means to move from plant to plant so the plant can make new plants.
Because plants have this
Pollen.
And pollinate is from pollen. And pollution it's from this
No.
word. Why? It's pollen. It's very small. How it's called? Tiny small pieces on the.
It's not written the same way, and it doesn't come from the same root of words.
So pollen and pollution is different.
And Poland, the country, also doesn't come from the same word. In case you were asking.
Thank you. So insects pollinate plants. Interesting. Thank you.
So insects pollinate most plants, which means people cannot grow crops without them.
Crops.
A type of plant which people grow for food, like wheat or corn or potatoes.
Crop is verb or noun?
Noun.
So, I thought crop is verb.
Technically, there are different meanings to the word. For example, I don't know if you've ever used a computer before, but you can choose to cut off a piece of a picture and you can call that cropping the picture.
It's true.
So that's a verb, but in this case, crops, which refers to the plant, it's not a verb, it's just a noun.
A noun, that means a type of plant which people grow for food, like corn and potatoes. Thank you.
Insects are very important, so it was a great shock when a report found that the mass of insects is falling by 2.5% a year. If this continues, there will be 25% less insects in just 10 years. If that happens, all of life will be in terrible danger. There are two answers to why there are less and less insects. It is probably Earth's rising temperatures as well as the use of chemicals in farming. And I know you're going to comment something about that.
Yes, rising temperature, global warming is the
It doesn't
reason.
say global warming. It just says it's talking about climate change because the temperature is rising in most of the parts where there are insects.
For me, when I read rising temperature, it
doesn't
means
mean
global
global
warming.
warming.
No, for me, when I first read this news, I thought it's a very nice example of fake news.
How is it fake news?
Because can you imagine 2.5% a year? It's too much. And they just calculated 2.5 per year, so in 10 years in 25%, and in 40 years they will die all, and we all die. Normally it's the nice way to gather money, because the world is in danger.
Seriously?
For example, ice melting, we need to gather money to save
It is
our
melting. We do need to save it.
ice, and in this case, please all countries gather money because we
It
need
doesn't
to
say
save.
to gather money.
No, it's interesting because I tried to find the same news and same information over internet, and I was amused that there are really information that 2.5%
A year.
about this report found that the mass of insects is falling by 2.5%. The last year, not per year, the last year. And there was like 10 reasons why it is happening. And one of them is chemical in farming. It's true and it's obvious. And yes, a little bit they told about climate changing. Yes, but there are many other reasons.
Yes.
Okay, I agree, it's very important and insects should live.
Yeah.
And it's
Go
all.
Go
Go.
insects. So this is it for today.
Yes, so this episode has come to an end.
We will be happy if you press the button like under this episode.
And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast.
Also, you can write questions and write comments under each episode.
Have a nice day.
Bye-bye!